Now coming to tonight's session on driving growth throughout customer life cycle using SaaS marketing strategies. Let me give you a quick intro to our very distinguished eminent speaker, Mr. Diktarup Chakraborty. Mr. Chakraborty is a seasoned technology marketeer with 20 plus years experience in IT marketing with the last decade spent in SaaS product marketing. He has worked with large conglomerates like IBM, Capgemini, and Gartner, as well as mid-sized SaaS companies overseeing their growth strategies. He has a unique experience of being an analyst with Gartner, as well as a marketing practitioner. Mr. Chakraborty has done his MBA from Symbiosis Institute of Business Management, Pune, and is associated as a visiting faculty at a number of B schools across the country, where he pursues his passion for academic pedagogy and training. A very warm welcome to you, Mr. Chakraborty. We are absolutely delighted to have you here with us tonight. Handing the session over to you now.
Thank you. Can you stop sharing so that I can share my screen? Okay. Good evening, all of you, and thank you for a really warm welcome, Shama, and a great introduction. I wish my boss thought so highly of me as you guys do. So today the topic is very interesting because the world, everything is SaaS, and the inflection point. We all thought that the SaaS inflection point had happened and it has reached a plateau, and every business is anyway going on to the cloud and so on and so forth. But with the pandemic that we are faced with, and perhaps we'll be facing it for another 6 months or so, it seems that the growth is infinite, right? Especially, and the thing is that the growth is both on the B2B side as well as in the B2C side. But my discussion over here will be mostly around B2B and technology products today. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of a understanding. In 2008, when I was an employee of Gartner, I had visited their symposium. I was a speaker at their symposium in Las Vegas. Okay, and then over there, the CEO made this statement about a concept called cloud computing. I got very fascinating with it. What is cloud and suddenly computing and all that stuff. And IT companies, IT industry is expert at creating jargons, IoT and ERP and all this stuff. But the cloud computing, as you know, it was really fascinating. So I got into it and all the stuff in 2008, and I thought that that point of time there was a lot of resistance to it. A lot of people were saying, no, security, what's going to happen to security? Is it secure? If everything is on the web, anybody can access our data and so on and so forth. Now, even government data is on the cloud, right? So that is the progress that has happened in just 12 years. In fact, it took about 3 to 4 years to become mainstream. And if you notice, something like Microsoft, which was struggling during Steve Ballmer's time, just about 5 or 6 years back, with Satya Nadella moving towards Azure and cloud, look at the growth that Microsoft had witnessed and the valuation. So cloud is and SaaS is here to stay, and obviously more and more businesses are going to get into SaaS. Larry Ellison in those days of cloud computing had said there is no money on the cloud. Today they are desperate to buy TikTok, right? So that is how the journey of cloud has happened, journey of SaaS has happened. And so let's discuss some growth strategies. So the first way I would like to take you through the structure. This is obviously a very mature organization, a mature SaaS organization. And today you will see very large SaaS organizations not having a concept of a CMO, because each of these functions are so deep and so specialized that a CMO becomes a generalist and just becomes a man manager, okay, people manager. So the very large organizations, or the CMO becomes more of an evangelist in some companies. So there is growth marketing. So any SaaS which is in the early stage startup or in the Series A kind of stage, they are mostly focused on growth marketing. They do not get involved in brand. Obviously, they do not have that money for brand. They obviously are not so bothered about retention because their product is still evolving, still a lot of glitches in their products. They will lose a lot of customers, but they will gain a lot of customers. And as they're gaining a lot of customers, they will also make their products better, more aligned, more scalable, so that they can retain their existing customers, because the profits come from existing customers and the revenue comes from new customers, right? So the growth is focused on creating a marketing pipeline, working with the inside sales team to grow the business, Um, Account-based marketing, in the IT services days, account-based marketing was known as you have about 5 or 6 accounts, which is giving you a huge amount of business. So you try to increase your share of wallet in that. This is with existing customers. Account-based marketing is now focused on prospects. They're not even customers. So a new concept of targeting your customers have come up. Then event becomes a very important part of growth marketing. Some companies will say event should be under brand. Some companies put events under growth because a lot of funnel and pipeline and stuff is generated all the time. Content, which is the key differentiator, and I have a lot of case studies around content and all this, which is a key differentiator in the area of SaaS marketing, is very critical, and not enough has been said about it, how important content is. We all know content is important, we all write content, but content makes or breaks a SaaS growth of a SaaS company. Digital marketing has become a unified platform, more so even now. SaaS mostly depends upon digital. Direct marketing or above the line like hoardings and stuff like that is not done so much, because nobody is going to buy a product for the organization just by seeing an ad. Okay, they will evaluate and all that stuff. So digital marketing becomes an important component, especially because of the kind of targeting that is allowed to be done, and marketing automation. You'll be surprised that some of the smaller companies, even in India, have a more robust and full marketing automation stack than compared to the really large organization in the old business space. Okay, because why? Because they know that marketing automation multiplies the impact of marketing. Then comes product marketing. Now, product marketing is a new concept which has evolved in the last 3 to 5 years. It has become ingrained in organizations in the last 4 years, because products have been coming up and there is no differentiation, obvious differentiation. You don't have a WhatsApp coming up every day, right? Which does not need any product marketing. You will have lots of WhatsApp in the market. So product marketing is the one which differentiates, or it tries to create a differentiation through messaging, through its positioning. So it is becoming more and more critical. It's becoming a specialized function, and this function is moving closer to the CMO function, whereas growth marketing is moving closer to the CRO function, the Chief Revenue Officer function. Functions like defining the persona, who are we targeting, what is his behavior, why do we get to speak to him, what job does he do, what kind of events does he plan, is all the job of a product marketer's personality development. What kind of product content will we be developing for this particular exercise is one exercise that we do. Then thought leadership content. Now, a lot of companies, now these are not cast in stone. This structure is not cast in stone. So a lot of companies will have some of these elements in growth and vice versa. For example, a lot of companies have thought leadership under growth marketing. And a lot of companies, because they feel that thought leadership is about the product, it should be under product marketing. Evangelism is basically talking at various forums, various platforms about your product and what problems that the product can solve. And analyst relationships. Gartners and the Forresters and the IDCs of the world play a very important role in driving the message, in driving the market, in creating the market. Recently, I was speaking to someone from HighRadius, which is into order to cash. And their main challenge is to make the analyst create a product category around that product, because they are one of the pioneers, but nobody knows it because Gartner and the Forresters are not talking about it. Okay, then comes brand marketing. This is the important part of SaaS. When you become big enough, when you have good enough revenue and good enough funding, you can start spending money on brand, which will give you multiples for your valuation, right? We have all heard of Freshworks. We all heard of Zoho. Now, apart from doing demand generation led marketing, they also spend a lot of money on very big ticket events, Blimp across, Reinforce, and all that stuff they keep on doing, which is extremely expensive to do, right? And that becomes necessary when you have reached a stage where you want to talk more than your products. Corporate culture, corporate identity, corporate equity has to be spoken about. The corporate events, PR, internal communications, and if the company is listed, then even investor relations. Okay, and then comes retention. Now, this is not then comes. Retention is perhaps the most neglected, but also one of the most important functions of SaaS marketing. Because as I mentioned in the beginning, the profits come from these customers who renew year after year after year. Okay, if they don't renew it, first of all, the customers are your feedback. They make your products better. They give you feedback to make your products more better and more robust. They give you the references. They give you the case studies. Remember, you are at the end of the day, you're selling knowledge. The product that you're doing is selling solving a problem, which can be experienced only after you buy the product. So why should prospects who are not your customers trust you? They will trust the voice of your other customers. So unless you have enough references, you won't get more customers. And then NPS and user events and stuff like that, net promoter score basically, which leads to customer advocacy, right? So if you have a happy customer, they will recommend you, they'll advocate you. They will come and speak at your seminars, your conferences. They'll also talk on your behalf to analysts. Remember, you cannot get into a GMQ, Gartner's Magic Quadrant, or Forrester's Wave report without having enough customer references. These customers have to talk not only good on your behalf, but basically corroborate everything that you claim to have. That is also important. So customer retention marketing becomes very, very critical in the area of SaaS. Now let's move across. This is a SaaS marketing journey. Now we all have experienced this. Some of the obviously have touched. Those of you in this forum who are marketeers would have come across this journey, right? It is first says that it is you create a delight, the retention mindset. If you see, you attract people, you make them come to the website, make them visitors, then they become your lead, which means they are showing some interest in your company. Then they become customers, but your job for marketer does not stop. Your job actually becomes more enhanced, more polished once they become customers, because you want to keep on getting business out of them. Not only renewal, but also cross-sell, upsell as you create more product, because SaaS products keeps on, even one platform keeps on developing. I used to work in a company called Zycus, which is one of the case studies that I have over here, which started off with just spend analytics, one product. Today, there is a source to pay product, which has 6 big products under that and about 14 modules under each, total 14 modules. So that's how big it has become in the last 20 years. It started off with just one product, spend analytics. So when you are attracting, there are different kinds of objectives that you have. You have demand generation, you need to do awareness, increase traffic. So you use content, the one which is listed over here. I don't want to go into it in details because it will take a century. So once they come to your website, you start converting them. Your website becomes responsive. There are chatbots, there are pop-ups and all that stuff. So make them come to your website and convert in the website. Strategies like ebooks and white papers and stuff like that. Success factors like goals is now once they become leads. Now the definition of a lead is also changing. There is something called marketing qualified lead, and there is called marketing attracted lead. The marketing attracted lead is anybody who has shown some interest in you in terms of downloading a piece of content. Marketing qualified lead becomes someone who said, okay, I'm interested, I want to know more, right? Then there is sales qualified leads, okay? So, which becomes an opportunity, which is basically a budget, authority, need, deadline, need timeline, the band qualification. So there are multiple stages, and in each stage, there are a number of metrics that you pursue. The metrics are increasing. As you know, marketing is extremely measurable today, as well as the kind of content that you do. And content is the king in SaaS marketing. And I want to emphasize it again and again, because this is what makes the company grow. So let's look at the next step, which is basically the lead to revenue model, L2RM process. Now, this is not something I have created. This is a Forrester model. Forrester has created. Basically, if you see, it is the extension of what I just spoke about earlier. You first discover a customer, make them, the customer first discovers you, then they explore your product, takes your demos, goes to your website, talks to people, then they buy, right? Then when they buy, they use the product. If they use the product, if somebody asks them, they talk either ill or well about you. And then if they talk well about you, then they engage with you even further by wanting to speak on your behalf, by wanting to take platforms on your behalf, that's a buyer's journey, right? Now, if you see the lead to revenue process, it goes within that. It first, you attract a lead, then you nurture it, then you sell, and it creates revenue. After revenue, marketing's job does not stop. It creates onboarding experience. That's why you have a customer success team. Sometimes it is part of customer marketing, outside customer marketing. And then you build advocacy. Customer advocacy is also part of customer marketing, which are responsible for cross-sell and upsell, which is important for you. So this is the SaaS lead to revenue model. Basically, it goes from you are trying to, there is a huge universe out of there. There is a suspect, there's a prospect, and there's a customer. So your marketing job is to convert a suspect into a prospect and a prospect into a customer by nurturing, by targeting through ABM process. Here I want to speak a little bit about ABM also. ABM has become a very important part of marketing. Why? Because what is the concept of ABM? With the amount of data that is being generated, you can run AI and ML to analyze it so much that you can do micro targeting about a customer. If you tell the title, if you tell the persona, if you tell the kind of organization that you want to go after, there are tools which will automate the process, or you yourself can do that by through tools like, say, LinkedIn PPC or Influtu or Rollworks, where it will give you targeted advertising to the people that they want. What it does, it reduces wastage. What it does is it allows you to present your message to your customer. What it does is it breaks down into what it does is also at different stages of the journey you can have targeted messages. So the same prospect who was a prospect has now become an opportunity. You can send a different kind of message to him, not just through email but also through targeted advertising on the web. So if he goes and visits a cricket website, he will see your ad, and if he visits a business website, he will see your ad. That is the power of ABM. Obviously, there are tools which does it, tools like Demandbase, tools like Engagio, which is brought about by Demandbase, tools like Terminus. So this is the entire study of marketing which has been created. In fact, now there are ABM specialists. Remember that demand generation has become growth marketing, and within that there is a ABM specialist. Earlier it was all merged into one. So let's move forward. Now let's explore some practical steps about how to grow SaaS, how to grow them. Okay, first is, these are obviously for different stages of the company. Go beyond functionality, build a brand. Remember one thing, a customer is not buying your product. Your customer is buying the problem that you're solving. Customer is buying the pain that you're alleviating. He's not interested in buying your product. So just talking about features and it integrates very well, which all of us get into. It integrates very well, it scales very high, it is on Amazon web server and all that stuff. Those are good, fine. But tell me, do you understand my problem? And if you do, how do you solve that problem? That is how you build a brand. Brand does not mean that you have to have a brand ambassador like Salman Khan and build a brand. There are various other ways of building a brand. Okay, and if you see any of these big company success stories, they have simplified the process of solving your problem. If you go to a website company called Monday.com, simplified the way of working at office, work from home, they have simplified. So that is, and that I mean, today it is resonating with me, it's a brand for me. Tomorrow it will become a brand for you. Freemium works even for enterprise software products. That's surprising because most of us, when we were born in India, they say, okay, they take freemium and then they don't ever convert. Well, not true. I'll have a case study later on where I'll show that, freemium, especially with the full stack freemium, usually what you do in the free version, we have this feature, most of the features are not available. So freemium works, but it has to be managed well. It has to be marketed well. Onboarding and retention, I mentioned earlier, it's a big critical part of your marketing journey. I will just give you examples without naming the customer and other stuff. In one of my previous organizations that I worked with, okay, they had bought that product from a much larger organization, than the organization that I worked for. But one of the problems that they had was that there was no, interest from that big organization to innovate and meet the customer needs. It was like my way or highway. Entered this organization Zycus, which I was working for. They heard them. They said, okay, we will do it much faster, more nimble. We will do exactly as per you. And they got that customer over there. So that is the impact of onboarding and retention. Outbound email is not dead. Yes, the click-through rates are very poor, but if your content that you get along with your email and the subject matter is important, you will get people who are open. No marketing campaign will give you 100% impact. Nothing. There's nothing such that exists. But email done judiciously works. We obviously get into this habit of spamming, sending 10 emails in a day and all that stuff. If it is done with logic and with judiciousness, it definitely works. High quality content makes your marketing strategy. This is, HubSpot is a living example of that. The kind of content that they create, the drift, the kind of content that they create, people want to go to their website and read and get better informed. I also go there to get better informed about what is happening in the world of marketing. So the kind of content that they create arrests people. They want to come back and again, and then they start recommending the product to their buyers and influencers within their organization. ML and AI has become all pervasive. A lot of the things that you see today are being driven by AI, your chatbots and your targeting, your email subject lines, your triggered campaigns. AI is becoming very important. Predictive analytics, understanding whether the customer will be responding or not, is being done by AI, and is something that we should all be adopting as soon as we can. And product marketing makes your product stand out. I have one full slide on product marketing. Product marketing, what it does is that it allows you to fine tune the 3 or 4 keywords that you want to talk about your product and hammer everywhere. You can talk a lot about your product, right? But people don't have that attention span. David Ogilvy mentioned that 5 times more people read headlines than they read body copy. In Gartner, we had done an experiment where they had inserted dummy words, 2-3 dummy words in all reports in their repository, and to find out whether people can spot or not. Gartner has thousands of users, hundreds of thousands of users. Only two people got back after 3 months. It was kept for 3 months. Only 2 people got back saying that, there is some junk words in your reports. Only 2. So that is the extent of how much people read headlines. So your product marketing is the one which creates those headlines for you. It is like the internal copywriter for your products. Then let's move further. This comes the role of product marketing in driving growth. One sec. Product marketing, the first point which I mentioned over here, is responsible for positioning and messaging, which helps in differentiating and understanding a product. Okay, now let's understand this. Yes, we have all heard of this positioning and messaging. Okay, but what is it that makes you stand out, right? If you go to Salesforce website, it says world's #1 CRM. That's the message, right? They have so many other products, right? But they harp on #1 CRM. Okay. So, or if you go to say Browser Stack, right? A company based in Mumbai, a small, not a startup now, but early little say Series B kind of a startup, says very clearly that they are into testing, makes testing simple. Test anything, it makes it simple. So that is the job of distilling that one message out of so many things that the product can solve. That one message, which if hammered, will make companies sit out. That is what creates an Whatfix. That is what creates a Freshworks. That is what creates a Zycus. That is what creates an iCertis. So these are that one or message which then hammered over the years makes it grow bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay. Then product marketing articulates what problems the customer faces. how product solves them. I just told you, right? How is also important. Not just what they solve, but how do they solve? Do I solve it by making, by giving a very nice UI? Do I solve it by just giving you that feature? There's a company called Scout RFP. They are into sourcing. They did the auction and RFX so simple, so easy that their message was a 10-year-old kid can use this software, and they can. Right? That was their message. Simple. I can make RFX so simple that you don't need anything. It's like Apple for sourcing. Apple does not even come with a manual, right? It is so intuitive that you can learn on your own. Similarly for enterprise software, imagine enterprise software becoming so intuitive. That is all done by product marketing. And obviously that will lead to growth. It is focused on driving demand and usage of features. Remember I told you about customer marketing. Now, what happens is that the research shows that 17% of all features of Excel is used by the users. Only 17%. 83% on an average lies unutilized, which is true for any product. Product utilization, and if you don't explore the features that are there in the product, okay, they will adoption will not be there, and if adoption is not there, it will not be renewed. Now, product marketing cannot just say that okay, these features are there, send a laundry list of features. No. Product marketing will see the users, see the user personas and say, okay, this is the use case. This is the use case you have. It can be solved like this. Understanding beforehand and creating use cases. It ensures sales, customer success, and growth marketing functions have all the necessary knowledge. They have to sell, right? There's a concept is product marketing called fear, uncertainty, doubt. When there's a saying in IT said nobody ever got fired for buying IBM, right? What does it mean? IBM is such a large organization that you buy software or hardware for them and it goes bad. The IT guy can say, look, I bought from the best and the biggest, so how can you blame me? But if you buy from a small startup and it goes bad, you'll lose your job, and people do, right? So this fear, this uncertainty, this doubts is what is cleared, what is mitigated by the product marketing team. It defines the user personas. Remember, different users have different needs, okay, for the same product. So the personas have to be defined very finely, and the use cases also have to define extremely finely. It sharply defines buyer and user personas to help in more targeting, messaging, and better ROI on campaigns. Okay, what it means is that it provides all the necessary and competitive intelligence to overcome customer fears. It provides all the necessary competitive intelligence. Yes, that is important. See, sometimes you can't sell a product in isolation. Any market you enter, there will be competitors. If you're entering a market where there is no competitor, usually which means that the market does not exist, right? The early mover advantage will be which will be with you for a very, very short time. So the competition, how they're better or how they're worse, is the job of a product marketer. If you are armed with all these things as a marketer, as a CEO of an organization, you'll obviously grow. If you do all these things, you'll obviously grow faster. So this is how the product marketing drives growth. So now let's do some case studies. I have 5 case studies with me because without that, no discussion is complete. The first, so then comes Kissmetrics. So what they did was they targeted, fine-tuned, very granular definition of their personas. Then they created, they have a content academy, which is rich in content, just like HubSpot. And then they created content for each of these personas, very valuable piece of content written by major authorities in marketing, CMOs of this company, professor of this university, authority person who has a huge followers on their podcast. That was also done. Okay. Then they dangled a gift to them, a kind of $25, $15 or whatever, and I extracted their email ID. Once they got their email ID, they did a very targeted ABM program, account-based marketing program, to reach after them. And the program was also supported by very authoritative pieces of content, some best practices, some case studies, some really important pieces of work, which has not been done by other companies. So that is the entire journey for Kissmetrics. Now, the next one comes is Intercom. Okay, Uh, Intercom is also a software which has products for you know for different job roles. They have created job roles. Now, these job roles is a concept which was created by Clayton Christensen, who is a professor of Harvard University. He created. So Intercom took this concept and created products for each job role. What is the product manager's job? And created software for that job. What is a marketing manager's job? Created software that for that job. What is remember product marketing? So product management was creating the roles, the products, and product marketing was identifying these roles and the job description and creating product to solve those particular problems. Okay, for example, collaboration could be a marketing job role, which is important. So they created products around that. Okay, and they started conducting research and seeing what was the problem that they had in each of these job roles, identified platforms that they could reach out, and they started communicating with them through various forums, various platforms, various events. The result was they had a 3x jump in their visitors in just 1 year's time. That was one of the success stories which I wanted to share. Then comes Slack. We have all heard of this brand. Slack was the one which did a success of freemium. I remember I told you in the beginning that I will have this thing about freemium. So Slack was one of the companies which had a huge success story around freemium. Okay, so so what they did was, when they had the product free of cost available to everybody for a certain amount of time, but within that period of time, okay, they gave the full version of the product, not just a small version, so that they could, and they did not restrict them for a time period, which means it's not that, okay, 30-day free. No, it was basically based on the number of messages that you could send from Slack. After that, it got disconnected, feed got disconnected. So which means you could perhaps be connected with them for 6 months also, but if you are, or maybe 1 day also, if your number of messages that you're supposed to send exhausts, then you have to pay for it. So what happens, you get addicted, you get used to that freemium product, and then obviously you start going to buy them. They had an unheard of conversion of 30% conversion from free to pay, 30%. Usually the conversion from free to pay is 3 to 4%. That was the kind of conversion that they had. Amazing, amazing success story. Next is Zendesk. Now, this is a very interesting one. You know, Zendesk found out that a lot of their lot of the people were searching for this word called Zendesk alternative. Okay, and which means obviously Zendesk alternative means they were looking for Freshdesk or other desk, ServiceNow and stuff like that, right? So what Zendesk did was they created a band called Zendesk Alternative. Okay, they created a web page, made it SEO ready, friendly, and all the stuff. And they decided to get people to that particular website, drive traffic, and Zendesk Alternative became a big success. This, by the way, this campaign won a Cannes Award for best campaign for digital marketing. So they used that fact that there were alternatives and all the stuff, and they built around that, right? So that is Zendesk. And last is the company that I worked for almost 6 years. I was a chief marketing officer there, Zycus. Now, I don't know how many of you have heard of this. Zycus is an Indian company, though it is notionally headquartered in Princeton, New Jersey, but the CEO and all the leadership sits in India. And it is approximately a $50 million revenue company selling, as you can see, source to pay solutions, competing with really large organizations like SAP and Coupa. Without any funding, it is existing for 20 years. Without any funding, it grew from a $20 million company in 2014 to a $50 million company in 2019, in 5 years' time, without any funding, mind you. Okay, it featured in the Leaders Quadrant, Gartner's Leaders Quadrant for 4 consecutive years. It is the only Indian company to have that distinction so far. There are other product companies which are featured in the Leaders Magic Quadrant as a leader, but nobody has done it for 4 consecutive years. Okay, so far it's the only Indian company to have managed the distinction, and obviously it has the top 5 share of voice among all its competitors, though it spends a lot less than their competitors. So one of the things that Zycus did, and I would like to say Zycus and not we did because I'm no longer part of Zycus. So one of the things that Zycus did was that it focused on very high quality content and video content also. Zycus was the first company in India to have syndicated content from Harvard Business Review. Zycus was the first company from India to have syndicated content from Economist. Zycus was the first company from India to have syndicated content from the Dummy series. Zycus was the first company to have Vidyard, which was a video from India. First. None of the FMCG companies and all that stuff also has the tool, which basically gets leads from videos. Zycus created a huge number of video content which started getting leads. There's one video on their website on Source to Pay, which is the most viewed video among all its competitors. All. And what is the result? As I told you, it is grown by 25 to 50, doubled its revenue. It has the largest number of followers on LinkedIn among all its competitors. And who are its competitors? SAP, Oracle, SAP Ariba, Oracle, Coupa. These are almost $1 billion companies. They have lesser followers and by significant distance. Okay, so this and LinkedIn recently in December 2019 created a case study on Zycus, which is an international case study, which is a LinkedIn marketing solution about how Zycus used content to drive 7.4x ROI. So this is another success story that I wanted to talk about. So basically, if you see, what I'm harping upon is that content, execution, and consistency is what drives growth. There's no magic wand. Most Indian companies, and I'm telling you most, and with a lot of sadness, small and big, they are, most of them suffer from not being consistent. Secondly, they try to copy what the others are doing. And biggest problem is that they do tinkering. They're not consistent, which means if they do something, they don't get immediate results. They stop that and try to do something else. Okay, because marketing has a gestation period before which you try to get the results. So you need to be consistent, you need to be patient, and marketing, remember, is an investment. So it has its risks and it obviously has its rewards. It is not a cost, it's an investment which enables growth. And marketing, unlike in IT services companies of yesteryears, marketing is a business driver, not a business enabler like in IT services. It's a business driver. It drives business growth. That is it from my side. Shama, I'm open for questions.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chakraborty. There were some really great insights, and I'm sure our audience is eager to ask you questions. If you see the Q&A window, we already have a question. You can take it up, or do you want me to read it?
No, I will read it. Thank you. Between onboarding and retention, how important is engagement? This is from Divya Sarup Panigrahi. Hi, Divya. I guess you're from Orissa. Between onboarding and retention, how important is engagement and social media listening? Which is the best engagement case study you can suggest us? Oh, okay. So the first onboarding, how important is engagement and social media listening? Okay, social media listening has no impact on B2B SaaS. Why? Because people do not talk about B2B software products so much. Okay, you don't. Do you talk about my company uses Outlook Express? You don't, right? So social listening is not going to be used, and let's ignore that. Engagement is extremely critical for onboarding as well as retention. If you just because you have sold to the customer does not mean the job of marketing is over. So it is important. And then comes to what is the engagement case study. I cannot remember anything, but I think there was a case study on MuleSoft, which was later on acquired by Salesforce. If you can find that out, it will be good. I think there is a good case study. Any other question?
Yes, I encourage the audience now to scan this QR code to ask any questions on LinkedIn. Meanwhile, we have a question from Ria, Mr. Chakraborty.
I can't see it.
Yes, it's a question in the chat window. She asked us, as a marketing practitioner, I'm a little involved into sales. One of my past CMOs would say marketing is the new sales. What is your view on this?
Yes, I agree as well as disagree. What has happening is that marketing is becoming more and more responsible for growth. They are being asked how much leads are you giving. Sales is saying that look, we will not do cold calls anymore. We need warm leads to pursue. So marketing that way is becoming closer and closer to sales. I feel that the growth marketing part, the first slide that I showed, will move under the chief revenue officer completely. They won't report to the CMO at all. And the other functions, brand, product, and retention marketing will be under CMO function. So yes, you are right. So there is a question from Raj which says, what is one of the key mantras to reduce to customer churn? Okay. So there's a Q&A, there is a chat. Which one should I look at?
Sorry, you can go ahead with this question from Raj.
Okay, so the Raj is one of the key reduce customer churn. Okay, first and foremost, see, you know, marketing can do only so much, right? If your product is really bad, it will never, no amount of marketing can help you retain the customer, because at the end of the day, his job is also precious, right? So product has to be good. It has to meet the promises that it has said in the beginning of the sales cycle, right? It has to meet the promise. Like Bill Bernbach said, you know, nothing kills a bad product faster than great advertising. So if you market a bad product, the customer will move out of your being a customer faster. So the first is the product has to live to that promise. Secondly, customer communication. Customers have to be made to feel as part of the family. So engage them in platforms like events, make them speak, give them reference. They feel important. Let's face it, you know, we all want to speak at various forums. This is our most basic human need. We all want to be popular and famous. So, so that's another way of engaging with customers. And third way of increasing is that in a SaaS world, there's something called customer advisory board. A customer advisory board, you invite your key important customers and ask them to evangelize the product of the future. What do they want the product to be? And you develop the product according to those needs. So these customers feel very important. So that is another way of engaging with customers. Any other questions?
Yes, there is one more. This is from Anil. He asks us, between growth marketing, product marketing, brand management, and retention structures that you presented earlier, how would you split your budgets? What could be a possible science behind it?
Okay, the firstly, let me answer. Let me say that look, there are various phases of a SaaS company, right? The first is the growth phase, where you are actually startup, you're trying hungry for business. That time you only focus 100% will go on growth marketing, nothing else. You don't have money for other luxuries; those are luxuries. When you start getting a consistent flow of business coming, then you have to start differentiating your product. Then product marketing comes into the picture, okay? And you start investing maybe 10% of your marketing budget on that. So 90% still on growth and 10% on product. Then you grow even further when the business is mature and your customers are getting retained. You do not have to, at least 80 to 90% of your customers are renewing with you. Then you focus on customer marketing. Okay, then what happens is 10% or 15% goes into customer marketing. Your product marketing budget increases to 20% and remaining is in growth. Last comes brand, where you have plateaued. Okay, you are in a hyper competitive environment. There is hardly anything to differentiate between you and the rest of them. You have to do a big bang activities, big events, big advertising. That time, even though you have to spend maybe 20% of your money or 30% of your money or maybe 50% of your money on brand, but that time your marketing budget is big, has become very big. That time your marketing budget will be maybe 10% of your overall revenue, because brand advertising costs a lot of money. I mean, if you have to do airport advertising in US, even in 2 or 3 airports for 3 months, it will be over $1 million. Okay, whereas your entire marketing budget may be $1 million. That is the kind of there is. So yeah, I have, okay. Next question.
We do not have one right now, but I encourage. There's one right now popped up on the Q&A. If you could see.
Yeah, the gestation. This is from Samir Danabe. I think I know him. The gestation period for marketing campaigns what is the ideal time frame, and more importantly, how do you convince your management with it? Gestation period. Okay. There is no formula. Marketing is an art also, right? So in art, you do not know what will work. You create, okay, let me give an example. If you go to Louvre Museum in Paris, okay, the Mona Lisa is on the second floor, okay, and it's a very, very long corridor. Both sides there are amazing pieces of art, okay. There is one piece of art over there, which is the consecration of Napoleon. Huge painting. It is basically when Napoleon was uh, crowned. He was crowned as the emperor of France. Now the eye of detail, remember those days there was no photography. The eye to detail, the minute description is so mesmerizing, but there is nobody standing in front of that and admiring it. They just go look at it and pass by. Everybody gravitates on the bulletproof case of Mona Lisa and taking pictures and all that stuff. Okay, that is art. Nobody knows why Mona Lisa is liked so much and not Napoleon. So marketing is also an art which is difficult to quantify all the time. So in order to say engage with your management, it is also an art. You cannot always convince them with numbers. Sometimes you have to also play the game of cat and mouse and say, look, your competition is doing it, you're losing market share, your share of voice is going down. So these are some of the factors that you can say to make them see reason and say that, look, it takes time for it to give you the results that you want.
In continuation to that, he has asked us another question, Mr. Chakravarti. Can you expand on the lead generation from video marketing?
Yeah, so expand. Okay, so, okay. Now, if you put your video on YouTube, this video, as Shama told me, will be put on video on YouTube. She will be get to see the views, how many people have viewed it, how many have liked it, and hopefully not many people have disliked it. Okay, but she does not know who has viewed it and who has liked it and all that stuff. If she gets that data, then she can do some marketing. She can capture the lead. There are video tools which can now capture that person who has viewed that data. Not only that, they can give a pop-up after say 30 seconds of the video saying that, look, now is the time for you to give me more information about you if you want to watch more. That is video marketing. The tool that I know of is called Vidyard. It's a Canadian company. It's also a SaaS company.
Okay. We are almost coming to an end of the session, Mr. Chakravarti. And I'm sure the audience can connect with you over LinkedIn if any questions in the future. So, for now,
anything else? Yeah, I'm available on LinkedIn. Thank you for all coming. And if there's any questions, you can ask me on LinkedIn. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. We have enjoyed having you with us, Mr. Chakravarti. It has been an absolute pleasure. Please accept this certificate of appreciation from the Institute. Thank you so much for your time and amazing insights.